Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Haribhav Vagere, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Maharaja Jivajirao Shinde Mahavidyalaya, Srigonda, this Ahmednagar. This college is affiliated to Savitribai Phule University of Pune. In this university, for BSc FY, the syllabus is CBCS pattern, credit based choice pattern, and that syllabus there are two papers for FI BSc, paper first and paper second. In the paper second, plant morphology and anatomy, BO 112, I will teach you plant morphology and anatomy paper. In that paper, in the last video, we have discussed the syllabus in detail. In today's video, the chapter number 2, that is morphology of reproductive parts. In that morphology of reproductive parts, the flower is one of the important organ of the plant. In that flower, the introductory part we are going to learn. Then we know that the flower is the most conspicuous, highly attractive and important organ of angiosperms, which is specialized for reproduction. What is the function of flower in angiospermic plant? The reproduction is the main function of the flower. Then we know that after pollination and fertilization, that flowers develop into fruits and seeds. These seeds again germinate and develop into a new plant. We know that the seeds are germinate and form a new plant. In this way, there is a important aspects about the flower. Then what is the scientific definition of the flower? Dear friends, dear students, listen very carefully that flower is defined as, listen very carefully, very short and small definition is there. It is defined as highly condensed and modified shoot of limited growth which is specialized for sexual reproduction. It is a highly modified shoot. It is a modified shoot which is specialized for what purpose? What is the special function of that flower? For reproduction, पुनरुत्पत्ति, पुन्हा तयार करणे, त्याच्यासारखा सजीव पुन्हा तयार करणे, that is reproduction, and that is the main function of the flower. Then what is the typical structure of the flower? We know that this is, you see this diagram. This is the typical structure of the flower. Then the typical flower shows two main parts. Typical flower shows two main parts, that is floral axis and floral leaves. This is the floral axis and that are the different floral leaves. That are the two main parts, floral axis and floral leaves. Then what about floral axis? What happened? What is the speciality of that axis? The floral axis is correspond to the axis of the shoot. It is a shoot of the flower. That is called a floral axis. Then it has a small leaf-like structure is also associated with flower. This is the structure of the flower. Then there is a small leaf-like structure which is associated with that shoot, and that is called a bract. That leaf-like structure is called a bract. When there is a flower with bract, that is called bracteate flower. When there is a absence of the bract, then that type of flower is called ebracteate flower. Then it is a reduced leaf-like structure. It may be colored or it may be greenish. Then there are some plants, they showy bracts. Very beautiful. Leaf-like structure is also there. Showy bracts are present in poinsettia. That is some members of Euphorbiaceae. Euphorbia pulcherrima. Then there are different species of Euphorbia. That is called poinsettia. And bougainville. You know bougainville, there is a colored bract. And we say that is a flower. But that is actual, not a flower. That is a colored bract. And the flowers are present inside that bract. And in that bougainvillea, we generally call it as a kagdiful. Bougainvillea spectabilis is the scientific name of that plant. Then a small bract-like structure found singly or in pairs on pedicel or calyx is called bracteole. Means bracteoles are also present in some plants. Then the axis consists of two parts, the stalk or pedicel and the thalamus. Thalamus and pedicel. Then what about pedicel? It is the basal part. This structure, it is the basal part of the axis which is without floral leaves. It may be long or it may be short. The distance doesn't matter. It may be long, it may be short, but there is a pedicel. And a flower with pedicel or stalk is called pedicellate flowers. Oh no, that the example of that pedicellate flower is hibiscus. See, this is a hibiscus flower. This is called a pedicel. This is called a pedicel. And rose also, there is a pedicel. We can keep, we can catch, we can take that with the help of our, we can take that plant in our hand with the help of this pedicel. Then a flower without pedicel is called sessile flowers. There is no pedicel. We cannot catch that flower in the like pedicellate flowers. Then pedicel is not there. That flowers are directly comes on the stems. Then next part is thalamus. What about thalamus? It is the solar tip of the flower. It is the solar tip of the flower. This structure shows solar tip of the flower. It is similar to the tip of the stem. It has nodes and internodes also. Means it has nodes and internodes. It always bears floral leaves on it. Means that thalamus produces floral leaves. Which are different floral leaves? That is calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. That are the floral leaves and that are produced on the thalamus. And the thalamus is also known as a torus or receptacle. Dear students, listen very carefully these points. Then thalamus may take various forms. There are different forms of the thalamus. It may be conical in Annona plant, Sitafa. Then there are some disc-like thalamus is also there present in some plants. We know that the citrus plant, we see the flower of the citrus, आपण त्याला लिंबू म्हणू, त्याचे flowers पहा, त्याचे disc-like thalamus असतो. Then there are some points, there are some plants, they have an elongated thalamus. The best example of elongated thalamus is Michaelia, चाफा, त्याचा thalamus लांब असतो. Then there are some forms of the thalamus, they are flat. You see in the lotus, come on. Or it may be convex shaft or cup shape in nature. Means thalamus are of different types, different shapes, various forms. The receptacle sometimes enlarges into axis to which a pistil is attached in beginning and gets separated at maturity. At the beginning, there is a pistil is attached. This is a pistil that is called carpel. That is also known as ori that are attached to the thalamus. Then this prolongation of receptacle is called carpophores. In some plants, there is a carpophore. The thalamus is elongated and form a carpophore. Now the second part, floral axis, first and second part is the floral leaves. Then in our floral leaves, a typical flower has 4 kinds of floral leaves. How many? 4 kinds, 4 types, arranged on 4 successive holes on the thalamus. They are arranged on the thalamus. The first floral fold is calyx. This. See, students, I will show you your flower. This is the first floral hole, that is calyx. This is the greenish part. It is the outermost, see, it is the outermost part. Then outermost fold and the floral leaves of this fold is called sepal. The outermost part of this flower is called sepals. This is the greenish sepals. The smallest unit of calyx is called sepals. Then sepals together form a calyx. If there are many sepals, they come together, form a calyx. Then the sepals are usually green and leaf-like. You see the color of this calyx. It is a greenish. See, student, very carefully the color of this calyx. It is greenish in color. Then, what is the function of this calyx? It protects or they protect inner floral fold when the flower is in bud condition or in open condition. The main function of calyx is to protect the inner floral folds. Then the second part, that is corolla. The smallest unit of corolla is called petals. It is the second hole of the floral leaves and are called petals. Petals attract insects and birds for pollination. They also protect inner two holes. What is the function of that petal? They are also protect inner two holes, that is androecium and gynoecium. Then calyx and corolla are called non-essential floral fold, or that is also known as accessory floral holes. It is non-essential. It is present, it is better. If it is absent, nothing is there. Means असला काय नसला काय. कॅलेक्स असला चांगलीच गोष्ट, it will protect. नसला काही फरक पडत नाही. Therefore, it is called a accessory floral holes, or it is also known as a non-essential floral holes. Then, if calyx and corolla are not differentiated, if we cannot differentiate the calyx and corolla from each other, then they are collectively called perianth. Then each perianth lobe is called tepals. Each perianth lobe, that is called tepals. And best example of that tepaloid plants or the flower is tuberose. मराठीमध्ये आपण गुलछडी म्हणतो त्याला. Then third part, that is androecium. In that androecium, this is the part of the androecium inner to the corolla. It is placed inside the corolla. It is a male reproductive organ of the flower. Each modified floral leaf is called stemma. Each stamens are collectively formed androecium. This is the structure of the androecium. Androecium is made up of two main parts, that is filament and anther. Then the filament is at its apex. The filament and its apex is made up of anther, and it has two lobes or bag-like structure called anther. Each anther is made up of two anther lobes. First, second. There are two anther lobes which are joined by means of connective. These anther lobes are joined by this connective. See, these are connective. Each anther lobe contains two pollen sacs enclosing several pollen grains. In that anther lobe, there are pollen grains are present. Each pollen grain germinates and form two male gametes. Hence, म्हणून androecium represents the male reproductive part of the flower. It produces two male gametes. That is the characteristic feature of angiosperm, and therefore it is called a reproductive part of the flower. Then gynoecium is another floral hole which is present inside to the androecium, which is the innermost part of the flower. This is the fourth floral holes of the flower. This is stigma, this is style, this is gynoecium, and that is called a gynoecium. They are collectively formed gynoecium or pistil. This is the entire structure. We have separated that diagram for the structure. This is the entire structure of the gynoecium. This is the thalamus. Gynoecium is made up of three main parts. Which are they? First is ovary, then style, and stigma. In that ovary, there is a ovule sac present. Then it is also known as a carpel. Ovary is also known as carpel. The basal solar part of the carpel is called ovary. This is the basal solar part, fugate part of that flower is called carpel. Then the tip of the style is called stigma. This is the tip of this style is called stigma. Then stigma receives the pollen grains. There is the pollen grains, so in anther. And when pollination takes place, that anthers goes toward the stigma. Then what is the main function of that stigma? To receive the pollen grains. Here, see very carefully. To receive the pollen grains, and the ovary contains one or more ovules. Dear students, see very carefully. There are ovules which are present in ovary. Then each ovule produces egg or female gamete, and therefore gynoecium represents the female reproductive part of the flower. There are some plants where calyx and corolla are not distinguished separately, and each floral leaves are called perianth. In example, ricinus, आपण त्याला कॅस्टर म्हणतो. Then polyanthus and tuberose. There are perianth are there. Then next article in this flower is the sexuality of the flowers. What is the sexuality of the flowers? The flower is said to be complete when it has 4 floral holes. What is complete flower? When the flower contains calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, 4 floral holes. Then it is called a complete flower. And it is said to be incomplete flower when one of the either floral holes is absent. That is called incomplete flower. And when in some flowers, androecium and gynoecium, both sex organs are present. That is called bisexual flower. When one of them is absent, unisexual flowers. And unisexual flowers may be staminate or pistillate, and only stamens are also present in some plants. Then in pistillate flower, only carpels are present. When stamens and carpels are non-functional, flower is said to be a neutral. There is no any function. Then the male plant bears both male and female flowers on the same plant. It is called monoecious plant. That is a hibiscus. Males. When both sex organs they are present on the same plant body, that is called monoecious. And on the other hand, when male and female flowers are produced on separate plant, it is referred as dioecious plant, and the papaya is the best example of the dioecious plants. The male flower is present on the different plant, and the female flowers are also present in the different flower. In this way, this is the structure of the flower. In the next lecture, we will learn about symmetry of the flower. Thank you.